I wanted to find out what the missing piece of the puzzle was, but go straight to source and ask women, what is it that you need to succeed?
There's so much change that needs to happen. Culturally, people have really got to buy into this. Everyone within the business has got to buy into it to truly make it work.
A lot of companies are doing certain things, but it isn't really making a difference, and it doesn't feel that it's truly genuine.
What's frustrating is that men, they think, oh yeah, the women are taking over, but the reality in the stats and the behaviours internally within businesses totally prove us that that's not the case.
I believe that we won't reach gender equality by focusing only on women. If you introduce a flexible working policy, we need men to be taking advantage of that.
If people choose and design their life around having part-time work or doing job shares, we need to make work more flexible for everyone.
68% of people believe and recognize that we don't have equality between men and women. And yet 54% think that we have gone too far with women's rights. The World Economic Forum has just published their gender report, and it has shown that it's going to take 134 years before we reach gender parity.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing in the Mad Fest, not the madness, because today we are backstage in the Female Leaders Club, and I am, of course, interviewing some incredibly inspirational people about how women can get ahead at work. Obviously, specifically in the marketing industry, but my next guest actually goes a bit broader than that. So with me, I have, and I'm going to start looking at her now, the fantastic Stephanie Aitken. Stephanie is, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to ask Stephanie, tell me your job, gender diversity consultant. I have got it right.
Yeah.
So first of all, can you unpack for me what a gender diversity consultant is and how you got here?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, super excited to be here and speaking with you. Well, what I do is basically I go into companies and I help them support women to advance so they can retain more women, get more women into leadership, make sure that women are thriving at every stage of their career. So I do that through consultancy. I also coach women. I run training programs for men and women so that, yeah, companies really have everything in place.
Brilliant. I love that. And I'm going to go backwards a little bit because Stephanie and I met on a panel at Google, talking about, I can't remember, it was around kind
resilience.
Female resilience. That was the subject. Well done. But then we don't tend to meet up in the UK that much. We've met in Tulum. Yes. We've met in Barcelona, and now we're actually in London.
Finally in London.
Yeah, I love this.
In the rain.
I know. It really is not summer today. So what I'm really interested in understanding is how you help those businesses. Kind of, you've given us a bit about your role. I'd love to know a bit more about how you got there personally, but also, I guess, the kind of things that you're actually enabling businesses to do and how you're doing it.
Yeah, sure. So I started off my career as a lawyer. Don't judge me. And
most of my family is lawyers, so don't worry.
Well, I worked in-house and I worked in TV. So I worked for MTV, I worked for Channel 4, and was actually, one of my internal clients was the ad sale and sponsorship team at MTV. So I was putting together all the deals and the 360 marketing campaigns for them and so forth. So what I've seen in my career, so I did that for 10 years, and then I preferred the people side of business to the contracts. And so I switched into training and coaching. And what I kept seeing was brilliant, talented, incredible women struggling with their confidence, struggling with imposter syndrome, struggling to really be heard, even when they got a place at the table, struggling with all of the biases that they faced, struggling with the systems that held them back. And I really wanted to do something about that. So 5 years ago, I really pivoted to focus on women and started off very much coaching women and supporting them. And then I realized, well, this isn't enough unless we change things at the organizational level. We aren't going to get where we need to be. So that's what took me to doing what I do now. Yeah, and I love it.
I mean, it must feel incredible to actually be making a difference, because, like you say, it's one thing coaching the person, and I'm actually coaching a fantastic team of amazingly inspirational women at Eon Next at the moment. But and actually the company's really bought into it and we're doing some things company-wide, maybe some stuff that I can get you involved with. But, by coaching the person, there's only so far you can go. Like you say, the companies have to buy into it. There's so much change that needs to happen outside of, well, even the company at a certain point, culturally, people have really got to buy into this. The whole business, everyone within the business has got to buy into it to truly make it work. So a few things. First, should we talk about the research first? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you've been doing some research on this, which I guess maybe leads, forwards to the kind of your 3 key principles. But tell me about the research first.
Yeah, it is something I'm passionate about and it is hugely fulfilling, but I'll be completely honest, it's also quite frustrating because the pace of change is glacial. And what I really noticed was, despite the fact that we've got so much research that backs the fact that having more women in leadership is brilliant for business. It improves profitability, it improves performance, it improves talent retention. I mean, the list goes on, innovation, on and on and on. And yet, we are still at the point where there's not many women in leadership. So I wanted to find out what the missing piece of the puzzle was, which is why I decided to do this piece of research. And in fact, the World Economic Forum has just published their gender report, and it has shown that it's going to take 134 years before we reach gender parity. That's across the board. Now, my focus is within the corporate world, within companies. And so I decided to commission a piece of research to find out what that missing piece is, not ask the companies, but go straight to source and ask women. What is it that you need to succeed? What is it you need to be able to thrive and advance? Not through a tick box quiz or questionnaire, but interviewing them, going really deep. And we found out some really fascinating things, some worrying things, some reinforcement of things we already know, but some new insights as well. And I think some of the key things that we discovered was that a lot of companies are support washing. And by support washing, I mean they're going through the motions, they're doing certain things, but it isn't really making a difference. And it doesn't feel to the women within the organizations that it's truly genuine. And that's a real problem, because if women sense that, they're not going to buy into it, and they're certainly not going to remain at those companies if they feel that it's somewhat disingenuous. So lots of companies, and I'm not going to name any names in terms of the companies or the women where they worked, but we're talking big players across different industries. So yes, many of these companies are doing International Women's Day events and ticking the boxes with bias training and this, that, the other, but it's not really making any difference. The other key piece is that women are not getting the right support at the right times. So you just did a fantastic panel today talking about really making sure that women are supported in the right way across the life cycle of their careers. And this is what I found as well, and I've had this hypothesis for a while, which is women at different stages of their career need different things. So you can't just provide a single solution for women as though we're some homogeneous lump, right? And so companies need to speak to their women and really understand their women and understand what is it that they need at the early stage of their career, which is going to be different to the mid stage, which is different at the senior stage.
I mean, I totally, empathize, but also wholeheartedly agree with everything you're saying. I think the other thing, and I'm going, is what's frustrating is that men often think, and I don't know that, maybe there's a separate interview report, something that we could do with guys, is that I think they think it's now equal, and they think, oh yeah, the women are taking over. There's so much talk about this stuff, but the reality and the stats and the behaviors of, internally within businesses totally prove us that that's not the case. But I do think there's lots of guys think it is fair. I've even had ex-boyfriends who are lovely guys and not meaning to be horrible. We don't understand the problem because they're not necessarily, they're not living it like we live it. They don't care enough to look at the stats because it doesn't affect them in their day to day. They don't live, they don't have the lived experiences that we have as women when we have to take a pay cut to have a baby, or we have to take time out of work because we've hit menopause and we're really struggling, or, I don't know, the millions of other things, that having to take time off work to look after your kids. One of the stats that I thought was quite shocking today is 20, I think I might get this slightly wrong. It's either 27 or 28% of women have to work part-time when they have children, yet only 6% of men do. I mean, what more evidence do you need?
Yeah, I think there's a real dissonance where people believe that we're further along than we actually are. And it's shocking to hear that it's, oh, no, we're actually 134 years away. And so that leads people to believe that we don't need to do so much. And, oh my gosh, why do we keep banging on about women? But actually, that's one of the things in the research I really wanted to, not reveal, but remind people that we're still quite far from it. And there's a number of challenges in the research report, which for women is going to be like, oh, when the women read it, they said, oh, yeah, well, of course, oh, So we face a confidence paradox where the corporate world is saying, oh, you've got to be assertive and confident. But then women struggle to be confident and assertive because they've come through a whole culture and system that's told them, to be the good girl, be pretty, don't speak up. And then when women do find their confidence, they're judged as being bolshy, aggressive, and so forth. So, women are in an impossible double bind, and it makes it even harder when people assume that things are further along. And I have to say, I work in lots of different sectors, and I will get your take on whether or not this is accurate. I do think that the danger of sometimes the creative and the marketing industries is this sense of, well, we're all good people, we're all nice people, and we're not like that. And yet at the top, it still is very much, there's a big gap. And I'm hearing on so many panels, the number of women who are struggling and facing bias and so forth. So in a way, I work also in legal sectors, in very male-dominated industries. Sometimes that's better because they're aware that it's hugely biased and it's male-dominated.
I mean, look, there's so many stats out there. I was speaking to someone yesterday, and I think the current stats are around about 60%, but it's actually due to rise, that the buying power within most households and the people that are making the decisions on what we buy is mainly women. So 60%, I think it's supposed to rise to something like 72%, or expected to rise to about 72% in the next 2 years. Yet on most advertising boards, marketing boards, it's still men that are making the decisions to how to design the online journeys, how to advertise their products and services to a female audience when they don't really understand the female audience. So it doesn't make sense. It's still not equal. We're getting there. I did also get some positive stats where I looked at female CMOs. Actually said 51% of CMOs are now women. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I literally was Googling stats before I came here, like, where are we? So some of it seems like it's getting better, but listening to all the things that we listen to, and also just from personal experience and the life that I live, I know there is still a way to go before we get that gender parity. It's we're a way off. So what I want to know is, and I know, Stephanie, you've got some quite radical different views about this, what you think we should do to start to get to that more equal, equity within business as a whole.
Well, I'm hoping it's not too radical, but it is possibly a little counterintuitive, because I believe that we won't reach gender equality by focusing only on women. Now, of course, everything I've just said would lead us to believe that that's absolutely what we should be doing. And I still coach women. I run programs for women. So yes, there is a need to do it, but that is not enough. And it isn't what women actually need, because we started off, if you think about it, companies started off by going, okay, we need to support women. Let's run some confidence programs and presentation skills programs. And it was all around women having to do more, fixing women. And then we all started to realize, actually, that's a huge burden to place on us, to single-handedly be pulling ourselves up through systems that are keeping us down and keeping us suppressed and experiencing bias. So then there's been a shift, rightly, to also looking at the system. So when I say systems, I'm thinking about changing policies, like introducing flexible working policies and having better maternity leave and making sure that there's biases taken out of recruitment processes. And that's really important so that the two go hand in hand. But actually, that isn't enough, because you may have the best maternity leave policy in the world or the best new menopause policy, but if that policy is operated, was being put in place within a culture that isn't really truly reinforcing it and supporting it, it's really hard for that to gain any kind of traction. So in my research, there were some women who were saying, great, we've got a menopause policy, but my manager is really uncomfortable having those conversations. So we need everyone in the company. You can't just focus on the women. You have to focus on everyone and making sure that everyone else is also endorsing, supporting these policies and these initiatives so that women can take advantage of them. So we need active male allies. And for me, allyship, I know you talk about male activists. And I believe when we talk about male allyship, it is, and I didn't come up with this. This is, many people say this, but allyship is a verb, not a noun, right? It's about those everyday moments and really making sure that this doesn't just be, it's not just a woman's thing. And you can go a step further to say that we need, if you introduce a flexible working policy, we need men to be taking advantage of that, because otherwise it's still a woman's thing and women will still face some kind of penalty for taking advantage of that and for taking the time out. But if men are also asking to take advantage of flexible working, then it starts to normalize it within the culture. So companies need to be thinking about everyone being supportive of things. So that's one key factor.
I love that. It's so true. Like the same goes like, whether you're a woman, man, however you identify, I think the same goes for, any kind of flexible working. Like the men should have flexible working, the women should have flexible working, the mums should have flexible working. The people that have decided not to have children or can't have children should have flexible working. It shouldn't, I think often part-time is like, you're a parent, so you need part-time work. In fact, it's not even a parent. If you're a mum, you need part-time work. Actually, if people choose and want to design their life around having part-time work or doing job shares, we need to make work more flexible, like you say, for everyone, because then it's not just, this is for working mums.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's interesting? So I was part of the UK UN Women's delegation to the UN's Committee on the Status of Women this year. I know that's a lot of words.
That is. But I think I've seen it because I know a couple of other women who were on that, have been involved with that.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So basically every year the UN comes together, all countries come together with delegations to look at the status of women. And so as part of that, I was, attending various sessions. I remember attending one run by the Nordic countries, who are the absolute trailblazers when it comes to really gender balanced initiatives. And you know what's really fascinating? They have the most progressive parental leave policies in the world. And yet, at the top of corporate leadership, there's still not gender representation. In fact, they've got a gap that's not dissimilar to the UK. And I sat there and thought, wow, I thought that was going to be one of the things that was going to fix things. So I think this is reinforcing this point, like you need more than the policies. Something else needs to happen.
So what else needs to happen?
Well,
Stephanie, I feel like you have all the answers. I'm like, Stephanie, just tell us. What else?
I'll do my best.
Yeah, I like it.
So the other thing we need to be aware of, and one of the other reasons why we can't just focus on women, is the fact that we have been is creating a backlash. And I don't know if you've seen some of this, but Ipsos has been doing surveys for the past few years, and what they have found is a very interesting paradox where, and this is not just UK based, it is global, this research. 68% of people believe and recognize that we don't have equality between men and women, 68%. And yet 54% think that we have gone too far with women's rights. And the majority of those are, surprisingly, Gen Z and millennials who believe that actually it's even to the point that it's discriminating against men. So whether or not that is valid or true, that is what people are feeling. And I don't think we can simply ignore that. And I know there's some people that would be like, eye roll and be like, well, that's ridiculous, and push even harder. But I think we need to listen to that and recognize there's something about how we're approaching things that isn't landing. And if people are feeling that way, they're going to react. And I'm seeing that pushback in the work that I do, where I'll be having conversations with the talent team or the learning and development team saying, hey, we really want to run this program for women, but we can't because we're getting pushback internally, and men are saying, well, what about us? Well, I say, well, what about them? It's every other personal development or professional development leadership program in the company, but fine. And what that means is they're shying away from running important initiatives. So women miss out. And the other thing is actually, the reality is men are not thriving under these systems either. So back to what we were saying before, if you think about, yes, men should be taking advantage of flexible working policies, but you know what happens when they apply currently? They get turned down more often than women do.
Wow.
So, that women obviously have big needs, but so do men. And I think we need to pay attention to that and make sure those needs are taken care of. I don't know have you ever seen the gender equity diagram that's often used, where you've got people looking over a wall? Oh, so basically it's a very typical kind of diversity image. So you basically have people standing behind a wall. You have the man standing on the ground and he can see over the wall. And then you've got the next one up, which would be a woman. She's on a box so that she can also see over the wall. And then you have another group of people, bigger box. And that's what gender equity is, making sure that people are given what they need to see over the wall or to overcome the barriers. But the men don't have any box at all. And I'm like, well, actually, is that true? Is that fair?
Yeah.
So I think for organizations, we need to really be thinking about an even more inclusive approach so that men also feel that their needs are, which may not be to the same order of magnitude as women, but they're taken care of. And that we have gender allyship, which is multi-directional. So not just male allyship or male activism, gender allyship.
Yeah, I love that. Across the board.
Yeah.
It's not about us. It's not about them. It's all of us together. It's policies for everyone.
Yeah.
It's inclusive, not exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Stephanie, is there anything that I've missed? I feel like there was so much that we've covered.
There is one more thing that I would add. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
And this is maybe a bit controversial. So the third reason why it's not good to just focus on women is we don't want to be recreating systems of dominance of one group, favoritism and priority over one group rather than another. And I think about, I don't know, did you watch the Barbie movie?
Yeah, I love the Barbie movie.
So
I love what it represents, because I wasn't going into that movie. I obviously went with my daughter, who you've met.
Yes.
I didn't go
Lola.
into that movie expecting the impact that it delivered to me in terms of the inequalities and how it was showing Ken, that, men rule the world in the real world, but in his world, Barbies ruled the world. So I thought the impact that had on me, my daughter, it was just wow. But anyway, you're going to tell me something different about it that maybe I didn't realize probably.
Well, I also really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really clever way to unpack the issues, but I think they missed a trick. And at the end, I was left with a slightly bitter taste in my mouth.
Oh, go on.
Because if you think about what happened at the end, when the women and the Barbies get back into power, there's one moment where the Kens ask to also be able to have effectively a place at the table, and the Barbies reclaim power and say no. And at that point I went, oh.
That was an opportunity. You're so right. I had not even thought about that.
Total opportunity. It's like, okay, so then we're just doing the same in reverse. So we need to actually shift the paradigm and move beyond this idea that one group is favored over another. And recreate something new and make sure that no one is being dominated. Because the truth is, with gender equality with what? Equality with a whole system that effectively was built to favor men or a certain type of men, white, neurotypical, heterosexual men with a wife at home. So as women, do we really want to get equality within those systems? Or do we want to change the systems altogether for something better?
Yeah. No, I love that. I wish I'd thought of that.
That's why we're here.
I was just there going, yeah, the women are in power. But you're so right. That would have been such a beautiful ending. I mean, there are a few little things that are slightly off. Like, obviously they do have the white, grey-haired, boardroom of men, and then they dumb them all down and pretend that they're all stupid and a bit like there's some things that the movie got wrong, which is done in a comical way. But I think you're so right. If they'd ended on that. I mean, as well, I thought you were going to talk about her going to get her gynae checkup,
no.
which I did think was really funny. But no, I think you're so right. What we all need to fight for, Barbie included, is gender equality. There is no,
Well, I would say not equality, because equality has us at the same level in the same systems. So I have a philosophy on this, I can share.
Yeah.
So I think we need to move beyond gender equality, beyond gender equity. And what we actually need, the new paradigm, the new system, the new approach, is what I call gender harmony.
Oh, yes. I love this.
And gender harmony is where everyone is respected, appreciated, supported, and given what they need to thrive, regardless of gender, all genders included. That doesn't mean we can't take care of the equitable needs, but that overarching primary motivation is let us all ensure that everyone is thriving. And this is at once a vision of the world. I mean, imagine a world where difference is celebrated, where it's not the thing that divides us, it unites us. It's not the thing that holds us back, it's what propels us forward. And that's what gender harmony, the vision of it is, but it's also a practical approach to help us get there. So I'm developing principles, looking for collaborators to ensure that this is our starting point and our framework and the umbrella that we're operating under. So I'm really excited about that. And maybe we can do a collab on it.
Yeah, I love that. If there's any way I can help, I was going to say, guys, if you're listening and you want to get involved, I will make sure all of Stephanie's contact details are in the show notes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course,
email,
please do, yeah.
LinkedIn, so that you can contact Stephanie and get involved and help, move the dial on this so that we can create this gender harmony.
Yeah, and if I can say one final thought, I think this is really important, like for your audience and for your listeners, it's recognizing that creative, advertising, marketing industries have such power and opportunity to shape culture, to be the trailblazers, and to not only ensure that within their own organizations this is happening, but then that ripple effect, so that's happening within their clients, that it's happening with the advertising campaigns that effectively influence society. You are the culture shapers. And so I really hope that anyone listening to this really feels that and takes that responsibility on board and imbues the work that you do with that lens.
So true. We have the power. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, guys, for listening. Hey, guys, me again. I hope you enjoyed the episode that you've just listened to. And if you did, I'm going to do the annoying thing that all podcasters do, which is go and ask you to subscribe, because it really does make a difference to our rankings. And please do go subscribe, leave a comment, give us a 5-star review if you did love it. If you want to get in touch, do check out the email address in the show notes. Most importantly, again, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe by clicking the button somewhere that is on this screen. And it will mean that you get notified when new episodes go live.